there was that gap, right, in quality, and we see like they didn't have as many options as we had as far as like you know being able to customize, but that quality bar, like, you know, their players that they were customizing looked as good as the NBA players, and there was always that disconnect with us. So like we poured our efforts into like, you saw the big boy body, like making sure that all those things that people want, they want that Yokozuna body type, you know, they want the cast bodies to look as good as the superstars. So that's what we did. The biggest disconnect is, you know, we've always had when we use portraits in the past in our menus is, you know, hey, here's a really great picture that, you know, we curated of Seth Rollins, and then here's your render of your cast model. And this year, I am proud to announce that we have custom images that you can use in the menu. The way I look at Universe kind of God mode, right? Where you're like, I'm in control of all this. I can control, like, you know, my ratings and you know, changing my attributes, and, you know, just you have full control over everything. Where my GM, there's limitations, right? Like, you're basically, Vince McMahon is the one basically running the show, and you're a GM, or let's say in our case, it's Triple H, and you're underneath him. Or you know other GMs from our past, like, you know, you're like, okay, I'm going to select them, and now I'm going to run my show, and now I have someone who is basically judging whether I'm doing a good job or not. We had to make certain concessions, like, hey, maybe the blending of two body types, that was causing a ton of issues, and we saw it in previous games where, like, the cloth would explode or the robe would explode, or you would see clipping everywhere, right? Like, that to me is not quality, right? I would say people are less accepting of those types of issues, right? And they just want something that looks great, right? And so that was our responsibility, is to make sure that what you're seeing on screen doesn't break you from that, you know, that reality that we're trying to present. So it's just like, okay, now go and draft your superstars, and here's your ratings, and here's how much money you're generating. Oh, you don't have that much money, you can't put on this type of show, right? And so, or you can't sign these superstars, right? So there's handcuffs on you, and there's someone watching you and grading you, and the fans. You know, I know it's our tagline, but it hits different. Like, it straight up hits different, and it's undeniable. Where I think in previous games where we would mess with the controls and say, oh yeah, new control scheme, you're like, no, they just move some buttons around and change this up a little bit. No, this is completely different. And to me, it's the foundation that we're going to build on for years to come. We're not going to abandon it. Or the superstar mode. So like, if you want to choose, you know, Charlotte Flair, and just focus on Charlotte Flair, not have any control over anything else, and just play through a cool story as Charlotte, or you want to switch it up and be, you know, Becky or Bayley, like that is, you know, that is now a thing. It's one of the things that we know, like, there's a ton of, you know, traction with, and unfortunately we just didn't have, with everything on our plate that we decided to touch, we just didn't have the capacity to really put a lot of effort into redesigning. One of the first things that we allow you to define is your background, right? Like, what was your background? Were you know, an MMA fighter who wants to dip their toe into, you know, the world of sports entertainment, or are you a former, you know, athlete or movie star? And once you select that, you go into your customizations, you know, define the look of your character. And then that choice that you made will dictate the type of conversations you're going to have